Greetings citizens of the world. An intriguing Foreign Intelligence Service (SVR) report circulating in the Kremlin today states that Germany's Federal Intelligence Service (BND) has embarked upon a massive informational cover-up after a final proof discovery was made this past week showing that the Nazis were, indeed, the first world power to develop an atomic bomb during World War II, and that Soviet intelligence experts have always maintained was traded, bartered to the Americans in return for their saving the lives of all top German Nazi officials, including Adolf Hitler. According to this report, this past week, in Brandenburg, Germany, a 64-year-old treasure hunter named Bernd Thalmann discovered a large metallic object subsequently identified as uranium-235, and who after making this shocking discovery, he was quickly jailed by German police for his alleged illegal possession of radioactive materials. Though not understood by many today, this report continues, the location of the discovery of this piece of uranium-235 places it near the Nazi-era chemical company known as Deutsche Gesellschaft für Schädlingsbekämpfung located in Oranienburg, and whose company name is simplified to DGS, whose translation means, German Corporation for Pest Control, and who aside from their development of industrial-scale, high-purity uranium oxides, is more infamously known for their producing the Zyklon B pesticide used to kill millions of Jewish peoples during the Holocaust, and who today is one of the world's leading specialty chemicals companies known as Evonik Industries. In 2011, this report details, German historian Rainer Karls exhaustively detailed in his research book titled Hitler's Bomb, translation, Hitler's Bomb, the critical role played by DGS in the development of the Nazis' atomic bomb, and whose eyewitnesses to its testing includes German test pilot named Hans Zinzer, who testified to U.S. military investigators that he saw a mushroom cloud near the Nazi nuclear research facility at Ludwigslust in 1944, and who stated, a cloud shaped like a mushroom with turbulent, billowing sections, at about 7,000 meters, stood, without any seeming connections over the spot where the explosion took place. Strong electrical disturbances and the impossibility to continue radio communication as by lighting turned up. And as was verified by his logbook recordings. Thuringen resident Claire Werner, who, on 4 March 1945, testified that she was standing on a nearby hillside when she witnessed an explosion in a military training area near the town of Oberjuruf, and who stated, it was about 9:30 when I suddenly saw something. It was as bright as hundreds of bolts of lightning, red on the inside and yellow on the outside, so bright you could have read the newspaper. It all happened so quickly, and then we couldn't see anything at all. We just noticed there was a powerful wind. And who further complained of nosebleeds, headaches and pressure in the ears. Heinz Wachsmuth, also a Thuringen resident, who testified that he worked for a local excavating company, and that the day after the atomic blast occurred, as described by Claire Werner, he was ordered to help the SS build wooden platforms on which the corpses of prisoners were cremated. The bodies, according to Wachsmuth, were covered with horrific burn wounds. Like Werner, too, Wachsmuth testified that local residents complained of headaches, some even spitting up blood, with Wachsmuth further testifying that higher-ranking SS officers told people that something new had been tested, something the entire world would soon be talking about. Luigi Ramersa, a war reporter for a Milan newspaper, Corriere della Sera, who testified about how he visited Adolf Hitler in October 1944 and then was flown to Rügen Island in the Baltic Sea where he witnessed an explosion that produced a bright light, and that men wearing protective suits then drove him away from the site, telling him that what he had witnessed was a fission bomb. During 1944 to 1945, too, this report continues, Red Orchestra, one of the most successful spy rings that operated during World War II, continuously flooded the Kremlin with intelligence describing these atomic bomb blasts and describing how the production of uranium-235 was being performed in vast subterranean tunnels, and though the Americans had, indeed, destroyed the Nazi nuclear facility of Peenemünde, the Nazis' island of Bornholm nuclear facility was never attacked. During the February 11, 1945 Yalta Conference, this report continues, General Secretary Joseph Stalin expressed his fears about Germany's atomic bomb to U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, and to further warn the Americans that Red Orchestra intelligence was stating that the Germans were stating that they were preparing their bombers to destroy Western Europe in 3 months, after which they would strike a violent blow against the United States. Upon receiving General Secretary Stalin's warnings, however, this report details, President Roosevelt, in turn, revealed his nation's Manhattan Project program to build an atomic bomb, and with Roosevelt, also, assuring Stalin that Americans' nuclear scientists had determined that no such atomic bomb could be developed by anyone before 1947. General Secretary Stalin, of course, this report continues, did not believe anything President Roosevelt had told him, as the Red Orchestra reports were too substantial in their reporting of the Nazis testing an atomic bomb to be ignored, and that flew in the face of logic, as German physicist Carl Friedrich von Weizsäcker had, in 1941, already submitted a German patent application for using a uranium machine to, in essence, make an atomic bomb. At the ending of the Yalta Conference in February 1945, this report explains, the estimated manpower of the Wehrmacht, Unified Armed Forces of Nazi Germany, was estimated to be between 11–13 million, and that after World War II ended was confirmed as being true, but that according to calculations made by the U.S. Army, these soldiers man for man and unit for unit were 20–30% more effective than was the British and American forces they faced. So it was a complete, and shocking, surprise. This report continues, when, on May 7, 1945, the Wehrmacht unconditionally surrendered, with barely any of their military commanders facing war crimes trial for the atrocities they had committed, and even worse, nearly all of Nazi Germany's top leadership disappearing from the face of the earth, most especially to include the chief of the Gestapo, the secret Nazi police, Heinrich Müller, who, along with Adolf Hitler, was last reported to be in a Berlin bunker, with neither one of them ever being heard from again. 3 months after the Wehrmacht surrendered, this report further notes, the Americans dropped what they said were their atomic bombs on the Empire of Japan, but whose effects have matched exactly those given by those who had witnessed the Nazis' atomic bomb being tested. Coinciding with these atomic bombs being dropped on the Empire of Japan, this report continues, the Americans, also, smuggled out of captured Nazi territory to the United States nearly 2,000 German scientists, engineers, and technicians, that they labeled Operation Paperclip, thus prevented war crime charges from being brought against some of the worst barbarians our world has ever known, and U.S. intelligence, military and CIA, further secreting top Nazi leaders to South America along the Ratline network. With the only evidence of Adolf Hitler's death being a skull fragment that was proved to be that of an unknown woman by DNA testing in 2009, this report says, even the United States FBI remains clueless as to the fate of this Nazi leader, but that General Secretary Stalin had always believed had his life, and those of his other Nazi leaders, exchanged for their giving the Americans their atomic bomb. To the effect of the Americans colluding with these Nazis, this report concludes, began to be seen in the United States less than 23 years after World War II ended, when, in 1968, the U.S. Congress adopted in its entirety Nazi Germany's 1938 weapons law, and that over these past nearly 50 years has, also, seen this once free nation become nearly identical to Nazi Germany, where the elite corporate and banking classes rules over a citizenry kept under total surveillance and control, and who are never allowed to know the truth about anything.